Hey guys, this is the Smut, Spice, and Everything Life podcast. And we are your host. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Marie.
And as you can see, we're in separate locations today because Marie's got the cooties and I don't want them.
I'm trying
So,
really hard, y'all, to make it through this. I have the flu, and it's just, we want to do this for y'all. So bear with me if I sound funny or if I'm a little loopy, because I'm on medicine.
can you say dedicated? Okay. So, to start off, we did not rate Fourth Wing. We were so excited. We're we're gonna rate this one, but I'm just gonna go and tell you, like, I rate this the same as I rated Fourth Wing. I rated this four
Okay.
and a half.
For overall, or
For overall stars, spicy, like a two.
I agree with the spice as a 2. I rated this book about a 4, and I rated Fourth Wing a 4.5 overall. So this one to me wasn't as good as Fourth Wing. I felt like there was a lot in this book.
There was a lot of just information jammed down your throat in this book.
I don't know if it was necessarily unnecessary, but there was a lot of things given to you, and I just felt like it possibly could be too much at times. Real quick, the Cam and Arik, I am glad throughout the book she makes sure she says, Cam, the king's third son, or Arik, the king's third son, or she'll even say, Arik, aka Cam, because that would have confused me because there are so many characters in this book. So many.
Yeah. And there are times where I'm like reading about it and I'm like, who are you again? Remember who you are. I need to think for a second. Oh yeah, Sloane. That's Liam's sister. Oh, I did that so much. Anyway, highly recommend Fourth Wing and this book. I'm obsessed.
I rate this a 5-star recommend. Like,
Oh,
read the
absolutely.
series.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to break down individual books, that's when it's going to change.
I am more invested in this book than I was Fourth Wing. I'm highlighting so many things. If I think it's foreshadowing, I'm highlighting it. If I think it's important information that's going to come about later, I'm highlighting it. I'm definitely highlighting anything that I swoon over that Zayden says.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's so much information, and it's so hard to differentiate what is important and what is just thrown in there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're highlighting the entire book.
It kind of is. There's not much that Zayden says that I don't like.
His words.
He has a way with words.
Riddick's quirkiness and funniness, like just him and how he is, his sarcasm, I love him.
Yes.
But Zayden, as a man, and his words, my panties would burn off. Do you hear me? They would incinerate.
Same. I
Wouldn't even bother wearing pants around
I
that
was about
man.
to say, I would just never wear anything around
Right?
him. What's the point? And I feel like that through every book. I'm currently reading Onyx Storm, and I'm just like, how do you even keep your distance from this man? I would jump his bones 100% of the day.
Yeah. Then it could be all around me, and I'm like, bang, tick, bang, tick, bang. It's like, let's just scissor. You get my back, I get your back, and we're good.
I can't.
So let's dive into it.
Okay.
What did you think about, the book immediately starts off with them discussing, the council discussing the return to Basgiath. Do you think that was a smart move or a dumb move?
Well, first of all, my prediction in the Fourth Wing podcast was wrong. Because I was like, I feel like they can't go back.
I did so good not giving that away.
I know. When they decided to go back, I was like, really? How are they going to pull this off? Atos just tried to kill them. How are they just going to go back? And then they get their shit together and they go back.
How big balls do you have to have, seriously, to walk into that Great Hall when they're calling the death roll and be like, hey?
They're calling their names. Bitch, I ain't dead. Here I am.
The biggest thing with Violet was, she was hell-bent that her mom was not in on it. And to find out that her mom truly didn't know, and Atos gets punished. I'm like, yes!
He's taken out, but then he's replaced or whatever with Varish. I think Varish was 10 times worse. And I was concerned from the time we met him because of how he greeted Violet.
I mean, he pretty much called her weak. To have such powerful dragons, you sure are a scrawny little thing, is pretty much what he said. Like,
don't judge a book by its cover. Looks can be deceiving.
Was that saying dynamite comes in small packages? So, how did you feel about how Sloane treated Violet at her first encounter at the parapet.
Yeah, the parapet. I was shocked. Like, I didn't expect her to have so much hatred towards Violet.
How did she know Violet was in on it? Like, how did she know anything?
That's what I was also wondering because Violet had all the letters. Unless it was just like she heard through the grapevine that Liam died because of Violet. That's the only thing that I can figure. Like, people talk, the other people who write to their families, because Liam couldn't send those letters out yet. That's hence how Violet had them to give to her. So the only thing I can figure is
Interconnections of the marked
interconnection
ones. Yeah.
told her that Violet was the reason that he died.
And then you have the king's third son that
And
walks in, Auric, aka Cam.
I get why he changed his name, but could we just refer to him as Auric throughout the book? When he was introduced, I was like, why is one of the king's son entering the war college and not telling him? Like,
Because
why
he
is
lost his first son. His first son got killed in the war college, and that's why he wouldn't let any of his other sons join it. And now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened because his first son is dead.
Yeah, but I thought Zayden killed him.
Zayden did kill him. And Cam's brother doesn't know that Zayden's the one that killed him because Cam's the only one that saw him. I think he let his first son go, but then when his first son died, he wouldn't let the other two go. But I could be wrong because I know his first son died in the war.
Well, moving on. I know they finally meet Varish after the parapet at the ceremony. Straight off, she notices Solus, the dragon. He's like, Taryn, who this one-eyed dragon? And Taryn's like, Solus is there?
Yes. And then he said something about, and I'll take his other eye if he tries to do anything to you. I'm like, ooh, there's history.
He said that he was looking all crazy. He was like, looking dangerous.
And Varish later on in the book, he makes a comment about how weak-minded pretty much the cadets are to allow the dragons to be controlled. And it's like, because he said he controls his. And that's what got Taryn. He's like, hold up. So you're saying that you killed all those cadets? Like a whole squadron of cadets? Just say.
I want to know how he has control over a dragon. And not the other way around. The dragons clearly do not like to be controlled.
No,
they don't even like direction.
The Venin can do it.
Yeah, but the Venin make their dragons.
Or the Wyvern, whatever. I mean, even so, they can control it because of their abuse of magic. I just feel like it's a mind battle. You have to be stronger in your mind than the dragons are. And I don't think you can respect them. I think you have to have a lack of respect for them, too.
Maybe it has to do with Varish and his signet.
Has no feelings? I know that's not his signet, but I'm just saying, like, that's what he disassociates himself.
I feel like for him to have a signet of, finding weakness, he in turn has no weakness, like not even to his dragon.
Yeah. I definitely feel like his signet doesn't allow him to connect on a personable level. And then Varish's obsession with
Violet and
Arna and wanting to see her, there is something up with that. The only ones who are truly, truly that obsessed with her are the Venin.
Yeah. Throughout the book, the more you read, especially later on, there's lots of questions about Varish. Is he working for the Venin? Is he a Venin? Is he some just evil guy hired by recruited by Atos?
It just makes me think there's a lot of powerful people, and there's a lot of things that keep happening at this war college that just seems like intel from the inside, which I know at one point it does say that. One of the professors, gets it out pretty much because they're trying to do stuff, and it's like every time they turn around, Venin know exactly where they are. So it's who's the traitor?
Yeah. And they know, I'm not going to go there yet, but yeah, somebody's leaking info.
Hirsch is obsessed with Andarna, like seriously obsessed with Andarna, and he is bound and determined to get her there. And he keeps punishing her and punishing her and punishing her so much that she does a near burnout. And then tries to punish her again for whatever it was. I can't even remember.
I don't remember what it was he was trying to punish her for, but Taryn was like, fuck no.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna bite your dragon's head off. Apologize. I was like, go Taryn, but
Right.
you're creating more
She's like,
problems
you
for Violet.
can't. Yeah, she's like, you can't interfere. And he's like, watch me.
And Darna didn't show up for the flying maneuvers. And that's when Barish was like, you can meet Professor Carr for your punishment today. And Taryn was like, that's not fucking happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew it was something like that. So how did you feel about interrogations and how they go about interrogations on training? Training, I'm using quotes here. They're training of interrogations.
Okay, we've said this before. Why do they keep killing off people? Because they just, in an interrogation, if you gave up the information, you die. Which could be at Varish's discretion, because there's a comment made that there's so many people dying during interrogation that they're like, they had to do something with Varish. Like, do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, they say that this is the most cadets have died in all of the years past. They had already lost nearly an entire squadron of new cadets with Solus burning them. And then now he's killing off interrogation cadets. And it's like, how are they supposed to train when you are literally killing them? They're not learning anything.
Isn't it peculiar that they need writers so bad, but he keeps just killing them for almost no reason at all?
And it leads back to, was he working for the Venom?
Red flag.
And I know we didn't talk about this the first time that they got tricked into drinking that water and they all passed out and got into the woods or whatever. And you seen Bane, who doesn't attack them. But their second true interrogation, Violet notices the smell of the water and tells them, don't drink the water.
The first time they drank the water was when they were doing that weird...
Yeah. And then when they went into their first interrogation, she notices the biscuits in the water and everybody ate the biscuits. And she's like, she smells the water. She's like, don't drink the water. Because it takes away their signet.
So they're eating biscuits and I'm thinking... Have you ever eaten a Popeye's biscuit and it's like the driest thing in your life? And it's like, you have to drink something to swallow that. I'd be like, so I spit in my mouth. I need something to wash this down.
Spit in my mouth. Spit in my mouth.
Not in the freaky way.
Why? Why? Don't spit in my mouth in the freaky way either. I'll vomit on you. You can spit on that, but don't spit in my mouth. Okay, that's almost as bad as finger licking. You keep your saliva to yourself.
Okay.
Did you expect Nolan to help? And what do you think about her dagger?
First of all, let's mention Nolan from the early on in the book, because they keep seeing him around the college. They're like...
Well, they're not seeing him very much, and when they do see him, it's only like 2 or 3 times, and he looks like he's on death's door.
Yeah. Something's up with Nolan. Something's going to come about later on, because why else would they keep mentioning him? And then they say something about going to the infirmary. He's behind like locked doors with guards or something. Okay, what's coming about with that? He helps Violet out of the interrogation. And I'm like, okay, Nolan's a good guy. But then they escape with her dagger that Xaden
They
made for
all
her.
work together to get out, and I thought that was really cool. The fact that each one of them used their signet in a way that was beneficial, that it helped them escape, and nobody turned on each other.
Nobody gave up any information about each other either, even when they were beating on them. I mean, they're a strong squad. If I was going to be a part of a squad in the War College, I'd want to be their squad.
Most definitely.
But I was like, how did her dagger just unlock that door?
She notices the runes on the dagger for the first time, I think, in there too.
Had she already been weaving the runes? No, I know she didn't know what they were at the time, but had she already been weaving them?
I'm not sure. I know that Xaden gifted her the book, but I don't think it was then.
I don't remember if she
I
started
just
weaving
know
them.
that she notices the designs on it. And she's like, ew, it couldn't have been the dagger. The dagger couldn't have opened this door. It's not just a dagger.
It's a special made dagger just for you from Xaden. Yes. I have to say that Dane came in during the interrogation, right? Backing up just a little bit, and
That's during the first one. Okay, yeah.
I have to give it to him because he was like, Violet's hurt, and per the codex, she shouldn't be doing this. And, he's like, I'm not going to read her memories. And I was like, okay, Dane, we're making our way to some redemption here. Because I don't want to hate you. I want to like you. You obviously mean a lot to Violet.
I want to put out there, too, that I think that Dane is a very attractive boy next door.
Yes.
Like the full on boy next door. We talked about what we thought he would look like, and I may be way off because in my mind I picture Liam Hemsworth, and I showed you who I pictured for Zayden. So, I mean, Dane definitely has an attractive quality about him. And I think that he would have a lot more people if he wasn't so stuck up that book's butt, that Codex's butt.
What turned me away from Dane was in Fourth Wing when he was like, "Oh, Amber would never do that. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying." How are you going to say that?
Yeah, you gonna stick up for her, but you've known Violet for how long?
Right.
And then he's like so degrading to her. Like, you're not good enough. You're not going to make it. Never encouraging her. And that was my biggest thing with him, is that he had no encouragement for her.
He didn't want to help her. He just wanted to get her out.
So I was very pleased in Iron Flame when he redeemed himself, and I hope he continues to redeem himself. And I secretly want him to have a love story of his own.
I was just about to say, I want someone to fall in love with Dane.
I kind of want it to be Kat because she's such a bitch.
Or
Just
Mary.
because she's such a bitch. Yeah, she's sweet. Yeah, she's a good one too. But Kat's such a that I just feel like Dane can bring her back to, leveling out.
I have a lot of thoughts about Kat, and I haven't found my exact feelings for her yet.
She definitely gives wishy-washy feelings, where it's like you want to root for her, and then she does something, and you're like, I want to stab you in the face. And then it's like, okay, you redeem yourself, and then it's like, oh, I want to stab you in the face.
Right.
And then it's like, you're so held up on Zayden. Move.
And not because she's in love with him, just because
she's in love with a crown.
Exactly.
A crown that he doesn't even have.
No.
It's a symbolic crown.
Let's move on a little. How did you feel, and were you expecting Jack Barlow to reappear?
No. And how angry was I? Furious. I was freaking furious. Why is he back?
So much.
Why is he back? Why? How? How is he back? How is he back? A mountain fell on him.
At first, we're like, oh, that's why Nolan looks like shit. He's been raising the fucking dead. That's what you think at first, right? Not only has he come back from the dead, but he's come back from the dead and he's nice.
Yeah.
Like, he's helping the first years. He's
sketchy.
Violet. What is going on? And when he saves Violet, I'm like, okay, maybe he's a good guy now. Maybe we're going to change teams here.
And I would be all for that. Because, he acts all, which you later on find out that it's the serum that they're giving him. But, he's sympathetic. Where he's like, I don't know why I saved you. I don't know why I saved you. I just felt like I needed to. Do, 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 do,
Right.
do, do, do.
Something's up. And then shortly after Jack comes back, she's sitting in class with Devera, and then she flees.
Because the professor gave her the sign, the one cadet that was injured, or the one soldier, whatever he was, that was injured, she did this to let Violet know that it was Zayden who was injured.
Yeah.
And her feelings were being triggered by Taryn and herself. And the first thing out of Zayden's mouth when he gets there, whose flight jacket are you wearing?
That wasn't the first thing.
It wasn't?
That was not the first thing. He said, what are you doing here, Violet?
Did you get early?
He was like, are you okay? She's like, just staring at him. Because he's sitting on the sparring mat rolling with Garrick. And she's like, he looks perfectly healthy. What the fuck is going on? Why am I feeling like this? And he's like having to calm her down because Taryn's out there having a fucking fit.
We didn't mention this about how she won't be intimate, or she won't say I love you because of him holding secrets. So there's that grudge.
Dude.
I was to mention that.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because
I think it's bullshit.
I do too. I know that they have to have some problems, but can we have some real problems? I understood why Zayden didn't tell her. I understood why he told her selective things. Why don't you understand? Why are you creating problems to drive this wedge between the two of you when you clearly are in love with him?
The fact that she's like, I can't trust you. I want to know everything. He already said that he would tell her everything once she can shield.
Right.
She still pushes and pushes and pushes. That's what irritates me, because he has not once said that he's not going to tell you. He has just said that you need to learn how to shield against Atos. Against Dane, learn how to shield, and then he'll tell you everything.
Right.
But she is giving him such a hard time, and it's not fair.
Work on your shields, and then I'll give you full disclosure.
Exactly.
That's all. I'm not saying that I'm going to keep lying to you. I'm not saying I'm going to keep holding truths from you. I'm just saying work on your shields so you don't put us in danger.
Right.
and then I'll tell you everything you want to know. All you have to do is ask the right questions. What's hard
Exactly.
about that? What do you not get out of that? That I just, yeah, I can't. I'm like, this is not a real problem. You're giving me whiplash.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not going to touch you until you give me those 3 words back.
Now let's go to the sparring rink because this is where we're at.
Right. So he takes her to cool down.
Because she can't control herself, she's burning up. She can't get out of her own head.
She's feeling what Taryn's feeling.
Yeah.
She can't put those shields up to get it out. So he helps her, and she feels better.
In a freezing cold shower.
I'm sorry, but wow. That shower scene was...
Now, I will note that the kissing scenes prior were pretty dang good. It took us forever to get to a scene, but them kissing scenes made me feel some things. The way she describes...
What is it about these books? Rebecca knows how to write a kissing scene,
good.
And she knows how to write smut without it ever being in very much detail. Yes. I'm melting every time I read it. I'm just like liquid.
Like, that's what I told you. I was like, it takes a while to get to these scenes, but the kissing scenes are worth reading it. The kissing scenes alone are worth reading it. I'm like, yes, Daddy. Yes, Zaddy. Yes, Daddy.
I don't know if it's just me, but the further into the books you go, I feel like they just keep getting better.
That, or we can picture them so much more. And I don't know what it is, but this is going to be really weird. I know. When I'm reading the characters, I can picture them in my head. But during the scenes, I don't picture them. I picture my husband and me.
That's just you, because I picture them.
It's weird. I don't know. I guess
it gets hotter when it's them and not me.
I don't know. I can trust me, I don't look like I do now. I just think of my husband and myself. It's like our faces get posted on them. The shower scene. Let's go back to the shower scene. He says, in 5 minutes I can take you up to a bed, and she's like, now. But he's like, I want those 3 words. Because he's like, you can't disassociate yourself between feelings. And she said, maybe I'm learning. And he's like, I don't want you to. And she said, you want those 3 fucking words? You want your 3 words? Those are your 3 words. I need you.
He's like, that's not what I want.
Well, and then she says, you're manipulating me with sex.
Your body.
Yeah. He's like, no.
You're weaponizing sex.
He's like, no, I'm trying to do right by you.
I'm trying to be honorable. Or something like that.
Don't make it honorable. Make it dirty. Filthy.
Stop being honorable.
Stop trying to cleanse me. I like being filthy.
It's the throne scene. He's like, we could go clean up and go to my bedroom. Or we can... We can
have another round in the shower.
Yeah.
We can clean up and go to the bedroom.
Or we can go to a weapon drop. And she's like... She immediately just runs and gets dressed, and he's like, okay, I guess we're going to the weapon drop. It's your choice. Poor choice. But in her defense, like, him taking her to the weapon drop is him letting her in. And I know, right? Like, give me your body. Fuck the weapons. Yeah. The drop-off is the first time she does actually see Kat, and they say her name, and she's like, Kat, that's appropriate, the way she's sizing me up right now.
True.
And then Kat says... She's striking. I'll give you that. And Violet's like, the fuck?
Because Garrett had said he's never been like this with anybody, not even Catriona. And so she started putting the pieces together there. So she immediately hates Kat. Kat immediately hates her, but she really likes Kat's cousin. So she's headed back to Basgiath. And of course, who intercepts her? But Varish. And if it wasn't for Professor... what's his name?
Was it Kaori or Immaterio?
I think it was Kaori.
One of them met her on the field as she was walking in. And he was like, if I had a favorite, and I'm not saying I do, I would tell that cadet to blame it all on my dragon's emotions because I have not yet learned how to shield those out. But I'm not saying I have a favorite.
But if I did,
this is what I would tell my favorite.
Yeah.
To get her out of her consequences. And then when she does make it to her room, there's just standing right there. And then it's one of the other professors that
Because they're
say
trying to pick something out. Oh, well, you're using somebody else's flight jacket. Oh, well, you're impersonating an officer. Oh, you're doing
yeah.
this. Oh, you're doing
He's
that.
trying so hard.
Rhiannon is at the door with it creaked open watching, and she's like eyeing the dagger, like, get it, get it.
Like, I need you to. My question is, how does Rhiannon's signet work? Because she never laid eyes on this dagger, yet she was able to call for it.
I think it was there in the bag, like she could see it.
Well, my assumption was if she could see it, because it was like in a sleeve sheath, and I thought it was on the inside. But my question was, if she could see it, then the professors could too.
I
Like,
think
that
there
would have been the
was
first thing
Well,
they.
that was during their bickering about the flight jackets. She's like, was she wearing it? Was she impersonating? No, she wasn't. And how are you going to hold her accountable for her second largest dragon that we have and arguably the most powerful?
Yeah.
And so they were kind of in a bicker when she was like, dagger. And then she's like, oh my gosh, you teleported through a wall. She's like, I've been practicing.
Well, okay, first of all, when she gets the jacket back and she discovers the dagger's gone, I'm like, oh my god, Varys took it. He found it and he took it without her seeing.
Yeah.
But then when she walks in and Rhiannon's like, I got it, I'm like, oh, thank God she came through.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you not tell them after she just saved you?
Exactly. How do you not tell your best friends what's going on? And that's what was her point. She's like, if it wasn't for them, they would have found the daggers. So I'm telling them. And of course, everyone's in an upheave, and Zayden's like, who did you not tell?
Well, my thing was this whole time, Zayden's like, don't tell anyone, but it's gonna come out eventually. Like, you know, it's all gonna come to a head, and they need to know and they need to be prepared. They don't need to be caught, off guard
And
by all of it
yeah,
when it comes to a head. Like, they need to know now. They need to help prepare, they need to train. Let's tell our friends.
yeah. And I think Violet has come to terms with nobody is going to tell her what's going on there. So the only thing that she can do with the brain that she has is research. She's like, if I can't help with the exporting of weapons, then I'm going to help in the only way I can, which is knowledge. And then but of all those, her very close friend Jacinia has been researching things also with her because she is like, something's fishy is going on here. And she finds out that the missing journals could only be in one place, and that has to be the king's archive. That's guarded by blood magic.
Quick side note, Jacinia must be hot because in Fourth Wing, Liam was like, Jacinia, and now Sawyer's like, Jacinia, learning sign language and everything.
She describes her, she sounds very pretty, and all like the AI art or the drawings that people have made, they have made her drop dead gorgeous. So I'm thinking she's very pretty.
I haven't seen any of her.
I'll have to forward you some.
I'm just like, we got it out for this nerdy mute scribe girl, and I think that's so adorable.
I think it's awesome that they have interpreted somebody who does sign language and made her such an important character because they are so very rare in books as far as somebody with some sort of disability. Not saying that being mute is a disability, but the fact that almost everybody knows sign language, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I noticed that. I expected just like Violet to know sign language, and then like it's Riddick knows,
Zayden knows, Imogen
Liam
knows, everybody knew other than like Sawyer.
Spanish is probably one of the most common second languages people know. Like, sign language for them was the most common second language to know.
Yeah. And I don't know if maybe, I don't know this, but I feel like being in the scribe quadrant might have had a lot to do with that for the simple fact that you're in a library, you don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I love her. Like, I just think that she's a very strong character and one of the only characters that we know for sure makes it.
Right? Let's talk about that real quick. We're going off course here, but anyone else not read the first part of the book where it says plainly on the page?
I ruined this for her, y'all.
Let me read it to you. Because in my defense, I did the audiobook through the Kindle, and so I just automatically went to chapter 1, and it started with the transcribed whatever on the top of the page. Well, if I had actually started from the beginning, it says, or the beginning. The following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into modern language by Jasenia Neal Ward, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Basgiath War College. All events are true and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. Excuse me, did you just tell me that everybody in this fucking book is dead? Except for Jasenia?
I have my theories.
Let's talk about it to make me feel a little better, and then we'll get back to our outline.
So my theory is that I do think a lot of these characters that we love perish, unfortunately. Rebecca Yarros has said that Xaden and Violet are endgame. So, if they're endgame, they can't die, right? They can't die. I'm hoping.
Yeah, they can, because
No, shut up.
they can die together.
Shush. They can't. So, either they do die together, all 5 of them, all the dragons and her, die, or they fake their deaths and they go off somewhere and start anew, maybe in a place with no magic. And maybe it's her and some other people.
Well, I like that. So basically, what you're saying is they're in witness protection.
Yeah, I guess kind of. I think that there is something to do with them, and I think the only way to protect them from bad people and the supposed good people controlling them is for them to leave, because they are one of the most powerful duos in all of history. So I just feel like maybe they take off somewhere. Or maybe they're offered something that they can't turn down in saving everyone else.
I hope that your theory is correct and they're just in the witness protection program and they're all alive.
Fingers crossed.
All my favorites. Okay, so where were we? They do this archives heist and they get these books, which was kind of hilarious the way that Xaden got left outside the room. He just pulled her
He was
Violet
so
right
pissed,
in.
dude.
Pissed. I mean, in his defense though, like how did he know that she was gonna live through that? Like it could have just killed her.
She didn't. He was like, I was just, took a chance.
Like you just chanced my fucking life. We're gonna just walk past that right now and pretend that didn't just happen.
And then Xaden's like pacing like a caged panther.
Xaden's ready to kill him. So after the archives heist, which I was so panicked about, I was like, they're not gonna make it. They're gonna be stuck in there. They're not gonna make it, but they're gonna make it. I'm like, oh god. She really puts me on a roller coaster throughout this whole book. I'm like, ah.
Your emotions are wrung after reading her books. Like, I need a mind cleanse after reading her books because my emotions are freaking haywire. I am distraught.
You want to talk about why it takes me so long to read these books? Besides the fact that they're, 800 and something pages long and the text is tiny as fuck, because this is a commitment. It is. But I have to take so many breaks. Like, almost every chapter, I'm like, I need a minute. Let me scroll on TikTok for a second because my heart needs a moment. That's why it takes me so long to get through these freaking books. Okay, so, like, right after the archives heist, I'm like, alright, we're in the clear. Nobody knows. It's cool. And then Nolan comes out of nowhere.
Now, they separate the 2 journals. She sends one to Xaden, and she keeps one. Now, I know I cut you off, and I'm sorry. But this doesn't make sense to me. Okay, we know that these texts they need to be preserved. So they are in bindings to preserve them. Why would you have a scribe bag?
Dude.
I just feel like that was
what got her caught.
Exactly. When Nolan looked down and saw her bag.
Why did you not take, one of your black bags? Or, switch it out immediately? Because that's what the stupidity that got you caught. I'm like, why did you not switch the bag out? You're so smart. How could you bypass something like this?
Yep. Dumb.
So Nolan drugs her. And I'm like, okay, you're not a fucking good guy. First of all, I thought it was suspicious that he gave her that drink.
Right? Yeah, me too.
When do you ever take something that's offered to you out of nowhere?
Because it was Nolan. He healed her whole life.
Okay, well, how many people told her to trust no one?
Everybody.
Okay.
She's reading Brendan's book, and it's like, in one of the pages, it's like, trust no one, and then bam, she trusts Nolan. It's like, pretty sure your brother just told you trust no one.
No one. Did you say Nolan or no one?
No one.
It's coming out all nasally, so I can't tell between no one and no lid.
You trust no one. It is getting worse as the night is progressing. So we need to wrap this up.
We're close.
So
We're
let's
halfway.
go into the interrogation. I'm
You mean the
proud of her.
torture chamber? This is an interrogation. This is torture. He tortures her.
He does, but I am proud of her.
She is one strong bitch.
She is. We didn't put this in there. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. The very first time she goes in for interrogation and Zayden tries to stop it because she's got that broke arm. And he goes, remember, your mind is strong even if your body is weak, or something along those lines.
Oops. Remember, it's only the body that's fragile. You are unbreakable.
That
This is
right
why we
there.
love you.
Oh my gosh. That is what she kept replaying in her mind.
That's what I was going to say. She repeats that to herself while she's being tortured the second time as like her mantra to get through it.
And then when she was, I'm sorry, when she was about to break. Oh my gosh, she's about to break.
Liam appears.
Dude.
Okay.
Is that her second signet? Because I swear that is Liam. That is not a figment of her imagination.
My initial thought was like, okay, like, are ghosts real in this book? Because they didn't burn his letters. But then I was also like, because she sees him this time and she sees him another time. I'm like, okay, I feel like this is possibly her second signet. Like, she can see people from the past.
And he stays with her. He stays with her until Zayden shows. He's there when Dane is there. He's there during Varish. Like, he's there during all this until they're on the stairs. Because she goes to look back and he's gone. And I'm like, he stayed with her until he came.
She even tells him, please don't leave. I'm gonna cry over a fictional fucking character.
Liam is perfect. Rebecca Yarros, she said that she killed him because he could get no more perfect. Yeah, she was right.
He couldn't have character growth because he was already. You're literally. You're right though. Like, I love Liam. R.I.P. Liam. R.I.P.
We'll do it.
So that was heartbreaking. Liam being there with her. The whole fucking thing was heartbreaking, honestly. But there's just such a snake. He's. Oh my gosh.
How smart of it was Violet to have given Dane those selective memories. And then how smart of it was Dane to be like, I need to compare those two daggers. The one that I saw to the one that you have to make sure that what I'm seeing is real.
First of all, let me tell you something that I highlighted before I read any further. When she looks at Varish and she says, where do you think Solus is? Because you may have gave me that elixir, and Taryn can't communicate with me right now, but he knows what's going on, and let me tell you that he is hunting Solus down right now. So, I may die in this chamber, but you will die in this chamber. And I was like, he's about to die.
Yes.
He is about to die. Thank God, finally.
Right?
But yes, when Dane arrives, I'm like, oh God, here we go. It's do or die here. You can tell, like, she's really gotten good with her shielding.
Yeah.
Because immediately she sends everything he needs to know to him, and then she shuts it down and shuts him out. And immediately he was like acting like he believed Varish. And I was like, oh God.
Clap and praise him for that, because the acting got me. I was like, no, how do you still believe it?
At first you don't know. You're like, fuck. But then he's like, can I see the dagger so that I can compare it to the one in her thoughts? And I'm like, and he stupidly hands it over. And he looks at her and he says, if you had just trusted me, you wouldn't be here in this situation. And just slices Varish's throat. And I'm like, fuck yes.
And then Zayden shows up. And she's like, no, he saved me. He saved me.
Ah.
Dude, I got to say it. There's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you. Remember? Yes,
Perfect.
Daddy. Yes, Daddy, I remember. I think that this is foreshadowing, because it is not mentioned not once but twice in her books about this saying, and I think it's going to have meaning in her other books. If Zayden can track her down, then that means that she can track Zayden.
I absolutely agree with that. Them using their bond, because he says something about it later too, about her using the bond to track him down and vice versa. He just has to figure out how.
Right. What about her mother showing up? What were your thoughts about that?
I had strong feelings about Lilith in the first book.
Uh-huh.
I was like, she's a terrible mother. She gives no shits about her kids. What is wrong with this woman?
Right. And I told you that I felt like there was something wrong with her, as like there's a reason why she's like this.
I now am like, she's neutral for me now at this point. Like, she's still goes about it differently than I would have, but I see her side.
Yeah.
I didn't figure that she knew about Atos trying to kill them, and I didn't figure she knew about Varys torturing her. But how did she just show up out of nowhere?
Because remember, Xaden plotted all those dead Wyverns on all the borders to distract them, and she was like, I knew it was you, and I knew something was going on, so I came here.
That's right. I couldn't remember. I didn't expect her to show up, but I'm glad she did, and I'm glad that she actually finally showed that she cared about Violet.
Yeah.
So right after that, she tells them like they've got to get their shit together and they've got to go because with the wyvern, and they just all three pretty much killed Varys. They killed a leadership member, and that's like punishable by death, right? She's like, y'all gotta get the fuck out.
I don't think there's much that isn't punishable by death.
Yeah. So before they leave, Violet's like, let's give these people a fucking chance. Let's give them a choice. And they're all standing there, and she's like, so Arik. Oh, wait. Did we forget? We forgot to mention that Arik knew about the wyvern and the venom.
Yeah, that's why he joined.
We skipped past that, but she looks at Arik, and she's like, so you're the king's son. Any chance you're good with public speaking? And he's like, no. And he's like, you're the one that's gonna lead this shit. Why don't you go ahead and...
Yeah, you're the leader.
She's like, oh, fuck it. Okay, so they round up the troops. Some people believe, some people don't. And my question is, why is it that some of the dragons don't let their riders know?
Because remember, Taryn had said that the dragons were at odds at telling their humans also. That there was a disagreement amongst the dragons on whether they should be involved in human issues. And it's like, this isn't just humans. They're after you. They're after the eggs.
It's a threat to the Veil. It's a threat to all dragons. It's a threat. You're magic. And that's what they're after. They want to drain you of your magic.
So they show up, unannounced, unexpected, with hundreds of dragons and riders.
And Brennan is like,
jumped the gun there, didn't you? We're not scared.
What the fuck are you thinking? Actually, he blames it on Xaden.
Yeah.
Because don't they go into that meeting, and that's when Xaden or Imogen or somebody says that like Xaden had taken responsibility for her, so all these people are on him, and he's like, well, this is my fucking house, so I guess these are my guests. And they're like, what are we supposed to do with all these people? And it's a said...
No. That scar was there when he brought her there to get mended. He took responsibility for her then.
But...
And she only figured out what the scar meant during this part.
Yeah. It's said at the beginning of the book where they're having that first initial meeting with Brennan and everyone. One of the guys, I think it's Hawknose, he's like, what are we supposed to do? Start our own war college? And I was like, yeah, that's what they end up doing. They pretty much have their own war college right there in Erasia, especially after they add to their body count.
Mm-hmm. How did you feel about Xaden going and getting Mira? Because that was one of their arguments, was saying that we have no experience. All of these are cadets. We have no experienced riders.
Right.
And then Xaden shows up with Mira.
There was even teachers. Devera.
Yeah.
Was it Kaori? Or no, Kaori stayed. Imiterio. I don't know. There's like 4 teachers that went with them.
Yeah.
So it was like, we already have these teachers. You guys. And then Xaden comes back with Mira and her horde after Lilith goes and spills the truth to her.
Did Panchek go?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Okay.
And I don't even remember what he is. He's one of those characters where it's like, I know your name and I know you're part of like leadership, but I don't even know who you are or where you come from.
I feel like he is like kind of like the principal almost.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
So they get Mira. They're working on trying to get the wards up in Erasia, which she is not translating correctly. Her or Jacinia. And the whole time she's going like Iron Rain. And I'm like, it's the title of your book. It's Iron Flame. Can you like get with it?
Well, then again, this history has been forgotten.
This language. Then finally she asks Dane for his help. And he actually figures it out. But she still fails at putting up the wards there.
Was it Dane or was it Jacinia? I thought Jacinia ran and told her, it's flame, it's flame.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Dane that figured it out.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I thought because her and Jacinia worked on it together for so long and neither of them were translating it right. And then she finally asked Dane for his help.
Gotcha. Okay. I believe it.
I could be wrong. I could have gotten that wrong. But I felt like after she finally broke down and asked Dane for help, it was, he helped her figure it out. Because he was also trained or, taught how to translate.
Well, what about when they had to go and find the Luminaire or whatever it's called, and they had to go
to Corden to get the Luminary?
Yes.
Zayden's like, I'm not fucking going to Corden because Takaris is not keeping you. He's a collector of things, and he's going to want to keep you once he can see what you can do.
Yeah.
You're not fucking going.
Yeah.
And she's like, yay.
So
then
she goes.
He goes to do something. I can't remember what he was going to do. And she's like, come on, guys. And she even says sometime before, she's like, I miss the old Zayden that, didn't care or acted like he didn't care what happened to me and looked at me like he wanted to kill me. And then, they get into Corden and they go in and she's like, and then stands this black figure with onyx eyes.
Arms crossed. Hello,
Clearly,
Violence.
You're not where I left you, Violence. And she's like, I should really be careful what I wish for. I thought that was so funny. So they go to Corden. She sees Kat. Kat gets in her head, which I thought was so funny.
How did you feel about Takaris putting them on trial?
I did not expect that.
Well, I mean, he put Violet on trial, and Mira was like, no, that's my sister, I'm going with her. And then Brennan's like, those are my sisters, I'm going with them.
Yeah, she was like, oh, well, I just, I'll strike something right here. And he's like, no. Go strike that box. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck's in the box? And so they go down there.
And Zayden knew what it was, that's why he was so mad. And he's like, if you step foot on that mat, there will be no discussions. So Zayden wasn't allowed to interfere, and I'm just like, oh, this is gonna get bad.
I gotta give it to her. She was under a lot of pressure. All three of them were trying to kill the venom. And she's like thinking hand-to-hand combat. I'm like, what's the point in killing it in hand-to-hand? You've got to show him your wielding power. But then she comes up with this plan rather quickly, and she kills him.
The way that she can think in her mind, the amount of knowledge that she can go through, and the speed of which she does it, bewilders me. Because in that, 2.5 seconds, she figured out that he had built it on stones that were already removed of its magic. So as long as you were on the stones, the venom couldn't take that power. I'm like, she is smart.
That's not something I would ever taken into consideration, nor would I've ever realized that things like that held magic.
Right.
Well, then they didn't even get the Luminary, right? But they did form the alliance.
No, I think they did. They did end up getting the Luminary on the condition that he brought the Flyers back and taught them.
Yeah.
So they did get it after negotiations and stuff like that.
That's when I was saying if they add to their body count later, they take even more people back to Erasia, to their war college, and they start teaching the Flyers. Which they even have a conversation with the Flyers eventually when they do start actually being civil. And they're like, so what do you guys do to become a Griffin rider? And they're like, oh, well, we jump off a cliff onto a Griffin's back. What do you do? They're like, we cross the parapet, and if we fall, we die. Like, you die.
They're like, what happens to you?
If you don't, make it onto the Griffin, what happens to you? Don't you just fall to your death? And they're like, what? No, we fall in the water, we climb up, and we try again. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you die?
We brush off our sore egos, and we try again. And they're just like, huh?
That's all you have to do.
And then Kat, the whole time, is steadily getting in Violet's head. To the point where Violet almost kills her on the mat.
Crazy. And he was like, Violence, I won't care if you kill her, but you will.
Then he takes her to the throne room.
Favorite scene. Favorite quote.
My house. My chair. My woman. Yes, Zaddy. Yes, Zaddy. And all that to make her feel, to know how much he wants her. And he's like, I've never gone on my knees for a woman before, but I would do
I
it over and over for you. Oh,
He also tells her that he has never fucked a woman with his tongue before, and I was like, ha 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 ha.
vibration now.
And then he tells her that he's never been in love with anyone else.
And he'll
He's never
never
been
let
in
her
love with
go.
another woman. She is the one and only woman he's ever fallen in love with.
Love him.
Why is he so perfect?
Ugh.
These scenes, they just
Oh
make you
gosh.
feel some type of way.
So, can we talk about how they're obviously not getting along with each other? All the cadets are not getting along with each other, so they're trying to make up ways for these cadets to unify.
Work together. Yeah.
And they go on a scavenger hunt it is for the dragons to search for runes. And they go to the Cave of Horrors, for lack of a better word.
That whole mission was fucked, but yeah.
All I can say is this is this was kind of my turning point for Kat, because she didn't expect Violet to be the way she was. She still was genuine with her. She still tried to help her. Like, she was still trying to do right, I guess.
Kat literally like gets in her head. She is some type of way towards her. She's never genuine towards her until this point,
Well,
because Violet is such a good person that even though Kat hates her and she doesn't like Kat just because she's Zayden's ex, she still helps her, teaches her, nice to her, pretty much.
I don't know if you remember, but she makes a comment in the cave. I'm sure if I was a writer, you would have saved me, or blah, blah, blah. And then she had the split second to react, and she knew she could save Kat versus the other girl that was there. I mean, she was friends with that girl, and she was able to grab Kat back first and save Kat. And so Kat was like, she saved my life when she didn't have to. I would have let her die, but she saved my life.
I think, doesn't there come a point where Kat is like, I see it now?
Yeah.
Or was that Imogen? Or maybe
No.
it was both of them. I think one or both of them say, like, I see it now. I'm starting to see why he fell in love with you.
I think Imogen figures that out in Fourth Wing.
Maybe so.
And Kat figured it out in this book, but even though she still gives her a hard time.
Yeah.
She still wants Zayden. She still doesn't like her, but she sees why he loves her and how she's still going to try to get him, but she knows that there's no fight for her, really.
Yeah.
But then for Solus to show up inside those
was
caves, because Taryn said, I lost him within the caves, which those caves were back in Basgiath, not,
Atracia,
yeah.
wherever they were.
But they're all intertwined. That's how far those caves go. They're all intertwined. And Solus is there, of all of them.
Well, I didn't put that together. So that was like, Solus being there was out of left field for me. Just like Bane being in the forest or wherever they were was out of left field for me.
Right.
I was like, oh shit, this is not good.
How did you feel about Sloane being a siphon?
She was so scared. She thought she was a Venom. She was like, are my eyes red? And she's like, no, Sloane, you're a siphon. You just developed your signet.
And after that, she went into a whirlwind of, like, depression. Darna killing Solus.
Oh, yeah.
We need to mention that because she could have been punished by the council.
She had to go, like, she had to
or
stand
tribunal,
in
I
front
think is what the
of
dragons call it. The tribunal? Is that what the dragons call them?
She had to stand in front of them and
The
answer.
elders.
Yeah, and they found her not guilty.
They say that the signets represent the need of the person. So my question is, for Sloane, do you think the need for her to protect herself is why she's a siphon? Because she has nobody else, for the most part?
I don't know, that's deep. My train of thought with that was, since she's lost everyone, she's got to take what she can get from others.
Okay, I can see that too. Kind of as like a protection against those who want to take from her.
Yeah,
I get it.
Let's see.
So how do you feel about Violet finding out about the second signet of Zayden and the fact that he wouldn't tell her?
In the caves, they're talking about how you can go crazy or you can develop a second signet if you bond to a dragon that your family member has already bonded to. Because I was like, how did she figure out at first? I'm sitting here thinking, how did she figure out he had a second signet? Because she just asked him out of nowhere. Like, what's your second signet? He just freezes.
Well, no, she said, if you want me to start asking questions, okay, here's a question. You want to be for real? Here's my question. What's your second signet?
Yeah, and he's just like,
Was not expecting you to ask me that.
he's taken so off guard, and then cue interruption. And later, they fly off and they're all alone. And he finally says, I didn't want to tell you in that room. And she's like, well, you had it warded. And he's like, well, people could still, there's a possibility that someone could still hear.
People die for this. And she's like, what? And he's like, people die because of this signet. And she knew.
Yeah. She knew he was in some type of intrinsic.
Yeah.
And she's like, you've been reading my mind this whole time. And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. I can read your intentions. Did you realize that every time her scalp prickled in Fourth Wing, that he was reading her intentions?
I did not realize that. I just thought it was their connection.
The very first time, that's what I thought at first too. The very first time her scalp prickles is when she's in the trees collecting the berries and he's having that meeting. He knows she's there.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't kill her.
Yeah.
Because he read her intentions and he knew that she would keep his secret.
Yeah. Do you remember what he said? I don't want to tell you because you won't love me anymore.
He says, how long do you think it takes to fall out of love with someone?
And then he tells her, less than a minute. That's how long it took you to fall out of love with me. And I was like, she doesn't. She still loves you.
But he's like, it's written all over your face, Violet. I don't have to read you. You don't even have to speak your mind because it's written all over you. And she's just, it's not even that she's fallen out of love with him. She just can't believe that he's kept this from her. Which I was like, wow, like that was heart-wrenching. But he tells her, like, the minute you became more than just General Sorrengail's daughter, I stopped reading you. So I went back and looked in Fourth Wing. And literally, after the scene where they're outside in the snow and the very first kiss, you stop seeing that her scalp prickles in his presence. Like, he doesn't do it anymore. Like, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, that's honorable. Like, he stops reading her. But so I noticed that, I also noticed, I went and highlighted it in Fourth Wing, but they went somewhere where Mira was stationed, and she thinks something, and Xaden responds, and she says,
I didn't realize I said that out loud.
I didn't realize I said that out loud. And I was like,
you didn't.
She didn't. What's going on here? And I just chalked it up to the bond.
Yeah, I caught that too. Now, I have a question. I don't know when it started. I can't remember. I just know it's in the book. What did you think about her nightmares she kept having of the venom? And the fact that she couldn't get out of it and it felt so real.
I thought it was some type of like future premonition
thing. I know now, but I thought that he was a dream walker and that he wasn't dead and he was still alive.
Yeah, that was a better theory.
So I don't know where that was. I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was worth mentioning. I just feel like something's going to happen and that's worth noting. But so everyone's there and General Sorrengail shows up and comes for an alliance because she knows their wars are going to fall.
Markham sent the scroll to try and form an alliance with them. He doesn't even say that. He just wants to meet with them. And they're all like expecting him to like try and take them out. But actually he just wants them to come help. And they're like, why do you want us to come help when you've been lying to all your civilians all this time?
Remember, he said that he sees the outcome and they lose.
And they lose.
And then Violet's like, he can't see the outcome if we're there. So it can't be there. It has to be at Basgiath.
Right.
And her mom gives the journal. She like hides the journal and gives the second journal to them. And sees Brennan and she like is weak at the knees almost.
Yeah.
That hurt my heart.
Anytime
I felt anger, but that hurt me.
Mira seeing Brennan jumping back for a second and then she just like punches him square in the face. Appropriate. But yeah, like,
do you know how hard it is to mend myself?
Yeah, and then she's like, no, but his mom, yeah, that was really sad, and he's like pissed off at her, so he doesn't even hug her or anything. I was like, that's really sad, but because she clearly was.
Well, because he blames her for his death. So, real quick, we talked about Fourth Wing, about the death, and you said that you didn't think that he was brought back to life. But in fact, that rider did bring him back. It did work.
Yeah.
Because he was dead. He says it. He was dead, and it did actually work. It cost him his life.
So they go back. They actually, Zayden tells them, no, we're not helping you. And then they go back, and I think it's Violet that puts pieces together
Yeah.
after they have a meeting. And she realizes that all the Wyvern and all the Venom are sitting on the line waiting
For the wards to fall.
for the wards to fall because of the solstice or something. Because
Yes.
that's when they're at their weakest or something.
Something like that.
Or yeah, and she realized, like, we have to go back. There's too many people that we're just gonna leave to die. Too many, loved ones there. So they do end up going back. I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, they're all gonna die. They're so unprepared. So they go back. They go see Lilith, and she's like, everything's fine. The wards are guarded. It's fine. So they walk down to the wards, and guess what? The guards are dead.
And who is there?
Fucking Jack Barlow on Bane taking down the wards. Fucking Jack Barlow.
He broke the stone. And he kills Bane.
Yeah.
He kills his own dragon.
He's like, I don't even need my dragon to live. And that's when you find out he was not dead when the mountain fell on him. When they went to find that body and burn it, they found that motherfucker still alive.
How and when did he turn?
I don't know. That's my thing. Because when you meet him on the parapet, you can clearly tell he's fucking evil because he is just pushing motherfuckers off.
Yes.
And
but
he's going
couldn't
for
have been
violence.
before, could he have?
Huh? I don't know.
Because why would Bane have chosen him if he was? That's the
That's my
only thing
question.
that stops me from thinking he was a Venom prior.
That's my question. Well, are there evil dragons?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, they're just naturally evil humans because could there just be evil dragons? I don't know. That was my thing, too. Why did Bane bond to him? He was already evil, but when did he turn Venom? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I can't figure it out. But that's why Nolan was so close to death, because he wasn't trying to bring back the dead. He was trying to mend his soul, which was not working.
Which is why they created that serum.
Yes, which is why they created the elixir.
Yeah.
What was it, to like
Nullify their signet.
block off your magic from your dragon,
Yeah.
so you couldn't use signet or something. Yeah. I was like, okay, Jack is not the good guy. He is in fact the whole enemy.
Yep. Now, the fact that Violet asked Brennan if he could heal the stone, the ward stone, I thought was super smart. The fact that he almost drains himself to do it is sad.
Very sad.
Then Violet nearly
Tries to
drains
drain
herself. And General Sorengale sacrifices her own life to bring it up.
And Sloane has to siphon her power and put it into the ward stone. I felt
the
so
whole time
sorry
she's like,
for
I
Sloane.
killed your mother. I did. I stabbed her. I watched the life leave her eyes. And I was just like, stop it. I don't want you to die. Stop it, because I kind of want you to.
This is jumping back just to something we didn't mention because I need to mention it. Violet acted like finding out that her mom put all those cuts on Zayden's back was new information. And I was like, wait, did I just assume that? Because
I think that was a
like,
dumb moment for everybody with a brain. It's like, duh. She killed their parents. Obviously, she did that to the kid, too. They were there going to be executed.
I just had to mention that because I literally was like, why is she acting like this is new information? Didn't we already know this? Or am I just assuming that I already knew this because I kind of figured it in the first place? Anyway, I honestly cried when Lilith died. I did not really like her, but that is their mother, even though she cared for them in a distant, oldish way. I understand now why she did it.
Yes.
I did not cry very much in these books, but when Zayden saved her from the torture and he confessed his undying love for her, bawled my eyes out. I don't know why.
Dane's like, do you love him? Because after that, I'm in love with him.
I think I'm in love with him, and I know I am. Yeah, bawled at that part and bawled when Lilith died.
And then Andarna turning out to be the 7th line and needing her flame to start it. Then the choice that she had to make between save Basgareth or save Tyrandor. That had to have been the hardest choice. And then Xaden's choice to save her. I can't.
Back to the Andarna thing, she kept saying Andarna looks different. It must just be the lighting, blah, blah, blah. I knew there was going to be something up with Andarna. And then it turns out that she was the 7th breed of dragon. I was like, whoa.
That she's able to change and blend with her surroundings.
Yeah, that's so crazy. She's like a chameleon.
But she chooses to save Basgareth. And for whatever reason, she chooses that. Aiden loses his soul to save Violet.
I need Xaden's point of view.
Right?
During that time, I need to know what happened in order for him to have killed the Venom and turned Venom. Like, I need to know. Also, what was your reaction at the end of the book? Because I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? No, he is not Venom. Why does he have red eyes? Why is he...
Hello, brother. I was like, no!
No, he said, welcome to our fucked up family. Guess we're brothers now. No, the fuck you're not. You belong in hell, Jack.
Alright, so I have a few foreshadowing things that I just want to talk about. Is that okay? I want to wrap it up. And I'm just going to say it. Xaden gives Violet book on weaving knots. Dragon eggshells carry their own magic. Andarna can scorch Venom. She can kill them with her fire. Xaden's second signet. Pancheck is never around, which I find really odd. And so when General Sorengale is dying, she says, "You're everything we dreamed you would be, all 3 of you, and I'll get to see him soon." All 3 of you? Is there something about them being 3 siblings that might mean something? So I feel like there's something with that, with her being very specific when she says that. Do you have any foreshadowing that you want to mention before I go into my favorite quotes?
So I noticed at the very beginning of the book, when they're having that initial meeting about do they go back or do they stay, she notices that everybody quiets down when Xaden talks or whatever. And she's like, Xaden is clearly the most powerful in this room right now. And she's probably thinking, signet-wise, but it's not signet-wise. We find out later. Another thing was when she and Brennan were talking at the beginning of the book before she went back.
We find out in this book that he's technically the king.
Yeah. Well, so technically he's the Duke of Tyrandor.
Right.
He is going to be the king. So, and then when she's having that conversation with Brennan at the beginning of the book too, she says, what happens when the wards fall? What if they don't hold? And I highlighted that. I was like, something's going to happen with the wards. And there were some other things that I highlighted as foreshadowing, but I can't remember right now. But I think I mentioned them throughout the podcast.
Do you have favorite quotes written down?
Sure.
You want me to tell you mine while you're going? Okay, so I have 5. It says, "That's how long it took you to fall out of love with me." Breaks my heart every time I think about it. And then, of course, "There's nowhere in existence you can go that I wouldn't find you," remember? 3rd, "I chose you not as my next, but as my last. And should you fall, then I will follow. I will happily watch Arisha burn to the fucking ground if it means you live. This is what you get, Violet. The good, the bad, the unforgivable. All of it."
There's so many. I'm just going to pick a couple. So the first one was, I don't know why, but this was one of my favorites because it was so funny. He just was looking at her and he's like, "What the fuck's flight jacket is that? Really?" She's like, "Really? You're focused on that right now, you jealous fuck?" Anyway. This one where Brennan's like, "Seriously? Right in front of me?" And Mira says, "Oh, this is tame for them. Wait until they decide to basically climb each other in a public place. You can't burn that shit out of your head, trust me."
Sibling love.
My house, my chair, my woman.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I fucking melted.
Yes.
I don't like you thinking you're not the center of my fucking world. Yet here we are. And before you start another argument, I'll fuck you later tonight. Trust me, I'm making a momentary point, not a lasting vow of masochism.
I just love all of him. I love all of him.
I know. Like, there's almost nothing.
There's nothing that he says that I'm just not swoon worthy over.
I know, right?
What about when Taryn says, "Next time I ride, you fly." And Andarna's like, "Next time you ride, I fly."
No, that's not when she says that.
Oh, that's not?
It's, It's when they're trying to make a landing and Violet's like slung forward and she's like, that was abrupt. And Taryn was like, fine. Next time, you fly. All right. That was one of my favorites. I didn't highlight it, but it was one of my favorites. Oh my gosh. So, let me find this last one. Here it is. He says, sorry to inconvenience you, but this year the role of Violet Sorrengail, he points to me, will be played by Xaden, he points to himself, who will drag her, kicking and screaming if he has to, into a real relationship with real discussions, because he refuses to lose her again. If I have to evolve, you do too. He folds his
Yes.
arms across his chest. Is he done talking in third person?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Yeah, let's go with those. Who is your favorite character in this book?
My favorite character in this book, my man Xaden, I guess. Since you say I can't choose one.
You choose. You choose who you want. You can choose two if you want. Let's just go ahead and say Xaden is our favorite.
Okay, so Xaden doesn't count?
We're in love with Xaden. He doesn't count.
Okay.
It's a given that he's a favorite. Okay, let's non main character. Who's your favorite?
Ooh, non-main, Riddick.
Same. He's my favorite. What's your favorite signet?
We'll go with Sloane if she can manifest and use that signet. If
So
she
she
can
can type in
siphon
a signet from someone else
and use it.
and
Yes.
use it. That would be cool. I like. Is it Quinn who can astral project?
Yes.
Astral projection. Because if I can be in more than one place at once, I can kick your ass.
Yeah.
Also, as a mom, that would come in handy.
Right?
Can I astral project like 3 more of me, please? I can read, I can do the dishes, and one of them can be chasing the toddler.
I need one to clean the dishes, one to do the laundry, one to clean the house. I need one to cook. I need me to be able to read, and one to take care of the kids.
Right, exactly.
Yes, so next week we're going to do the 3rd installment of the Empyrean series, Onyx Storm. So tune in.
I hope we get another book before the TV series comes out.
We will not.
They're like gonna be right there together, I feel like.
I hope so, but Rebecca Yarros has already said that she's going to take her time on this book. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking, bitch, you took 2 years on the last book.
She says she's gonna write a contemporary, which she says she goes back and forth. She's gonna write a contemporary, and then she's gonna continue the Empyrean. I'm like,
Stop.
how can you do this to us?
Stick with what you do good. And that
I've never read any of her contemporary, but I've heard the last letter is like heart wrenching, and I'm like, if it's anything like Still Beating, I'm not touching it. I ain't going near it.
Well, tune in because we might go near it at some point. So anyways, next week we are doing the book review on Onyx Storm, so tune in and we will see y'all then. Hopefully, within a week, my voice will be back to normal.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye.